This morning, a homeowner opens fire on two people who were trying to break into his home. Police say a man and woman tried to get into that home on Stewart Road around 3:45 this morning. The homeowner started shooting and hit one of them. The suspects then took off, and the person who was shot showed up to the Mission Trail Hospital, then was transferred to University. No word on their condition this morning. Bexar County deputies took the other suspect into custody.